patient woman.
We didn't date a lot. We just hung out, spent time together. I think it would have helped if we had dated a lot, or some at least. I wasn't even interested in him. He just had this ability of manipulating people into doing things that he wanted them to do. It sounds kind of strange, but he got me to believe that things were right when they weren't. After a while, he started using logic, saying things like, "Hey, this is great, let's get married." It's hard to say when we officially got engaged. He never really asked me, he just assumed that I would marry him. He started telling everybody that we were engaged, and I guess after a while I just agreed to that. Sounds kind of strange, huh? Now it sounds really strange. But at the time, it just seemed normal. But I guess the way I think about a lot of things has changed. He seemed to have a lot of problems in his life that he didn't know how to deal with. And maybe not knowing how to deal with those problems led him to get upset with himself, and he would take it out on other people. He didn't seem to have a lot of happy memories of his childhood. He treated me great in public. Whenever people were around, he'd always compliment me and tell them how wonderful I was. But as soon as we weren't in public, he'd point out every single little thing that I did wrong. He'd tell me how unworthy I was of everything I had and how unappreciative I was. It started out with just a controlling behavior, but it was so gradual that I didn't even notice. Before we were married, it was just controlling and manipulative. After we'd been married for a while, he started to lose his temper a little bit. He didn't take it out on me at first. He'd call me names and break things. And he broke things. He made sure to break the things that I cared about. One day, right after our first child was born, he got really upset about something and he kicked me. And let's just say that everything went downhill from there. He would beat me really bad. He broke my nose once and threatened to kill me several times, and I don't doubt that he would have, because when he got angry, he lost any control that he had. He kicked me, strangled me, hit me, especially in places that nobody would notice. And if they were in places that people would notice, he wouldn't let me go outside. I couldn't even go to church. He insulted me all the time. I could never do anything right. He controlled every aspect of my life. If I went to the store, he asked me exactly what I bought and how much money I spent. His family knew how he treated me, but they just said he'd get over it and that it wasn't really that bad. At least when it did get really bad, they'd let us stay with them for a couple of nights. They didn't say anything about it, like it didn't happen. And I didn't feel comfortable talking to the neighbors about it because I felt like they would look down on me for it, like somehow it was my fault, and I didn't want them to know. One place we lived, all the neighbors knew about it, but they didn't do anything. The only thing they did was make sure that we got kicked out and moved away, so they wouldn't have to deal with us anymore. In our new place, some of the neighbors did have complaints, and that's when I talked to a bishop. That's when a bishop actually got involved. The former bishops kind of had an idea of what was going on, but they just said things like, "Oh, it's okay, he'll get over it. Just be really nice to him and things will be better." This bishop was different. I talked to him and he helped me realize that it wasn't really my fault. The bishop helped me to get away to a shelter for a couple of days. And it was there that I made the decision that if he beat me again, I'd leave him. I thought that was fair. When I got home, he beat me again, and so I left. The bishop was the one supporting me through it all. taking care of me, just like a substitute dad or something. He calls me often, just to talk, see how things are going. He took some disciplinary actions against my husband. I guess the reason the former bishops never did anything is because they never heard my side of the story. Just my husband's. My oldest would have a hard time going to sleep at times, and still when my children go to visit him, they cry because they don't want to see him and be with him. It was always a struggle getting them to go to sleep at night. My oldest still has problems, but I think things are getting better. It was really scary for me to leave him because I didn't have anybody supporting me. I didn't really have any friends. He wanted to know everybody I was talking to, and he made sure that whenever I got too close to somebody, I never saw that person again. There were some people at the shelter that helped me realize how bad the situation really was. They had this scale to measure how abusive a person was, how dangerous it would be to be around them. He was listed as being severely abusive. It was still scary to me. The first step was trying to make friends, to trust people I felt comfortable with. That was hard because I didn't really trust anybody, but I felt like it was something that I had to do. Of course, I had to get a job, go back to school. All those things were really hard for me, so I went to counseling. Mainly, I just blamed myself, and that's one thing the counselor helped me get over. I'd always blamed myself for everything. But the counselor made me realize that it wasn't my fault. And this helped me, so that whenever I did talk to my husband, I was able to say, "No way, goodbye." Time has healed me, as well as not being criticized all the time. Actually having people appreciate what I say, that's helped me the most. Feelings don't have to be right or wrong. Before, they always had to be right or wrong, and everything had to make sense. It didn't matter if it made sense to me, but it had to make sense to him. I read a lot of scriptures about faith, and that's helped me a lot through some of the hard times to really have faith and believe that things will be okay. I've prayed a lot, and amazing things have happened in my life because of it. It's so hard to feel very close to the Lord when you're wondering if He really exists because life is so bad. Now I have a lot more control over my life because I don't have to account for every little thing that I do. I can dare to say what I want to say and not worry about somebody getting mad at me or beating me. I can express my feelings, and I'm happier. I don't feel fear anymore. And before, fear was the only feeling I had.
All my life, just about every night, I saw my father as a drunken stranger. And heard her cry just about every time she felt his anger. And it broke